Yesterday is directed by Danny Boyle and stars Himesh Patel as a musician struggling to make it big when an unexplained event causes the Beatles to be erased from existence as though they never were, with him being the sole person who remembers who they were and their music. So he starts to pass off Beatles music as his own to achieve fame and fortune. I thought that this was a cool idea, and though I know that there are things like this that have been done before, I've never seen them. The only thing about it was that I don't really like the Beatles that much. I don't hate them or even dislike them. They're just not my thing for the most part. I like some of their songs, but the majority of their music just doesn't move me. So going in, I was worried that I wouldn't really like it because of the Beatles aspect. So I'll talk about the good things first. I like the main actor, Himesh Patel. I thought that he was funny and likable, and I wanted his character, to succeed. I like that he's incredibly just normal looking. I thought it worked better for the every man thrown into extraordinary circumstances more than if he was some young, good-looking actor. I like the relationship and the chemistry between him and Lily James. It's a bit different from what you usually see, with her really liking him and him being oblivious. Some of the best scenes are when she confronts him about why he doesn't think of her as more than a friend and manager. But I don't think that it ever really explained exactly why he doesn't. When she confronts him, he doesn't really seem shocked at her admission of her feelings so much as he panics about being honest about his feelings. And then they're interrupted, so we never actually get an answer from him. Like, did he ever think about it before? Because this is what she looks like, and she's a really nice and funny character, so I find it kind of hard to believe he never thought about her in that way or even considered it. Then later he does have feelings for her, but why the sudden change? I assumed that it was because he missed her and realised what she meant to him, but I had to assume because it wasn't really shown in the actual film. And although the romance had its problems, it was what made this film actually work, more so than the actual premise. While I was watching, I kept thinking that it didn't really feel like a Danny Boyle film, and not just because there wasn't much style in the filmmaking, but because it was pretty generic romantic comedy at its heart, and it felt more like a Richard Curtis film, especially about time. Then I looked it up afterwards, and yeah, it was written by Richard Curtis. Its other saving grace is that it is pretty funny. Nothing really laugh out loud, but a charming, light-hearted British style of comedy that I always enjoy. And the music is, well, it's the Beatles. However you feel about the Beatles is how you'll feel about the music, and like I said, I'm just not really into it. It's strange how irrelevant the whole Beatles aspect is to the actual story. You could have had the same film, except the guy just gets discovered for his talent on its own instead of copying the Beatles, and it would have played out pretty much the same way in the most important of the story beats. The guy has to leave home to go to LA and leave the girl behind. He suffers the negative aspects of fame, and producers and agents are trying to change his work even though it's already kind of perfect. Then he misses the girl and has to choose between success and her. It wouldn't have been as much of a draw for audiences, but in essence it would have been the same. It's like they try to use the importance of the Beatles' influence on culture to give the film more weight, and it might have worked for me if I cared at all about the Beatles or their music. There's so many aspects of this premise that are just not explored. When I heard the concept, it sounded like a power fantasy. You can achieve success, riches, and fame by doing very little and presenting guaranteed successful work as your own. It sounds like fun. But the main character never really feels like he's enjoying himself. He always looks nervous and scared, and he never looks happy or excited to be suddenly famous. It would have worked better if he started off just loving the attention and then have it sour later. We don't even actually see him become rich and famous, other than a scene where some fans run after him outside the airport. We're just constantly told that he's the most successful songwriter and performer in the world. It's easy. Just show him buying something extravagant, like a big house or a car or something. It just feels like there's no upside to what he's chosen to do. I think the reason they give is that his album hasn't been released yet, so that's why there doesn't seem to be any actual money, but that's boring. Let us experience this power fantasy through him. That's what I wanted to see, and we just don't see that. Pretty much as soon as he gets his first gig playing with Ed Sheeran in Russia, he just looks miserable all the time, and then it tries to show the price of success without showing any of the benefits. Also, the hardships he experiences because of his choice to do this thing only really exist in the form of Kate McKinnon's agent character. And she just acts evil and creepy from the moment she appears, and everything she says sounds like a stereotype of some American business person. The big bad thing she does is to get him to change the name of the album away from the original titles and changes the words of Hey Jude to Hey Dude. I don't understand this in films and in real life, if it happens in real life. If you're that good and that famous and everyone keeps telling you that you're going to be the biggest, whatever in the world, then why don't you just turn around and tell them to shut the fuck up? I'm the artist. Or just say, no, we're going to need you to go ahead and just change the song a little bit. Nope. It's not at all clear how much time elapses in the film, so we don't know how long he's been in LA, but it doesn't seem like he's been there long enough or had anything significant happen to him, so he doesn't really change at all as a result of all this happening to him. There's no rise and fall, there's no high points or low points. I don't like Kate McKinnon. I keep hearing that she's a very talented actress, and I think someone said something stupid like she was good in Ghostbusters. The best thing about that, the movie that she's in before she's about to become a huge star, but she's not good. Maybe she's funny on SNL, but I don't watch that, so I don't know. But she was cringe-inducingly forced and unfunny in Ghostbusters, and she's over the top in a bad way in this too. Her character just doesn't fit with this film's tone. She'd feel right at home in an Adam McKay comedy. I mean, she wouldn't be funny, but it would be more appropriate. And there's a whole thing with Ed Sheeran that he's a talented singer and songwriter, but he has absolutely no charisma of any kind whatsoever. I mean, if you thought he was distractingly bad in his Game of Thrones cameo, you haven't seen anything yet, because he is just awful in this film. Just a terrible actor if it's a performance, and a boring fucking person if he's just being himself. The way he talks, the way he walks and stands and holds, his facial features just feel awkward and fake. It might have worked for a cameo part for like a scene or two, but he's in it so much. And there's also a scene where he challenges Patel to a songwriting competition and says that if Patel beats him, then it's proof that Patel is the greatest songwriter in the world. Catch yourself on, mate. Like, who wrote that line? And then he compares himself to Mozart? Seriously, fuck off. A couple of the characters who kept showing up really needed a bit more development. Like, Lily James has this friend, or maybe it's her sister or something, who she lives with or she works with. It's not clear at all, but she's there throughout, and then for the big scene at the end. Also, Lily James's boyfriend could have used some more screen time so we could actually see them as a couple, because the way it is in the film, he's basically a disposable person to add a bit of conflict to the relationship. I know it's a fantasy, and the point of the film is not to analyse the hows and whys, and that's fine, but there were some things that I just couldn't help thinking about. So, the Beatles are gone like they never existed. Does that mean that everything that they influenced has changed as well? It doesn't seem to be, and if that's the case, then I have trouble believing that if the Beatles music started coming out now for the first time, that it would be received in the same way the film portrays. Surely the success of the Beatles was influenced in part by the state of the world into which it was released. If the context is changed, then so is the effect of the art. If all the singers and bands and music that the Beatles influenced still exist in the world of this film, then there's no way that the music would have the same impact. It's a bit like saying that if the original Star Wars was released for the first time now, that it would become the same pop culture phenomenon today that it did in 1977. All this didn't really affect my enjoyment of the film, but it's something to think about. In the film, it's not just the Beatles that have vanished, there are other things that have gone too, like certain products and people, and it makes for some funny scenes that I thought it was actually going to pay off more, and I wish it had. I'm going to give Yesterday a C. It was a pretty simple romantic comedy, and it worked as one for the most part, but it took a cool concept and didn't do much with it. It wasn't even really about the Beatles all that much, or what the importance of their music means. It was charming at times, and I'd say that it was just good, and I'll probably never watch it again. I'd say wait a few years and use this premise again for something else and really explore the ramification and drama that could be drawn out of this sort of fantasy, because it feels a bit wasted here. Thank you very much for watching my review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, follow me on Twitter @LookToTheMovies. I'll be back soon with more reviews, and I'll see you then.